Are you ready to learn how to use ChatGPT as your own superpower as a virtual assistant? If this is your first time on my channel, my name is Lacaba. I run a virtual assistant agency named 2XU, and I post videos every Sunday and Thursday on how to work from home and how to have a business from home. So make sure to hit the subscribe button right there so you don't miss any of my videos. So if you have seen any of my content in the last 6 months, a lot of it has to do with ChatGPT. And I do this because I want you guys to learn this tool before anyone else does, because then you can start utilizing it and making it your own. And in a lot of my TikTok videos, I've been talking about how to use ChatGPT as a superpower, which is what this video is going to be all about, is how to utilize ChatGPT for your day-to-day tasks as a virtual assistant, and also just how to apply it into your life. Now, the first thing you can do to supercharge yourself basically using ChatGPT is to identify what tasks to automate. What I mean by this is you want to start looking at the day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month tasks that you're doing as a virtual assistant and start identifying, hey, what are the things that I can create with ChatGPT? Now, if you've never seen ChatGPT before, hopefully you've seen other videos of mine, but basically when you start thinking of what can I use ChatGPT for, think of it as like, what is something that I have to do recurringly, again, daily, weekly, monthly, that I create things for, that I write things for, that I can now put into ChatGPT. Things like writing emails, responding to emails, creating captions. Again, I have a whole playlist here on my channel on different tasks and the prompts that you can use with ChatGPT. Whether it's like for your day-to-day, like I've had ChatGPT create a whole schedule for myself based on my goals. So depending on what it is, just first create the list. You don't actually have to start using ChatGPT yet, but just start noticing what are the things that would be amazing if it was automated and used by a tool. Maybe it's something that later on you can just have a ChatGPT ready for you to just keep doing that task, so on and so forth. So that's the first step of being able to supercharge, is start noticing and identifying what these tasks could be. And again, if you do need examples, I do have the whole playlist on this YouTube channel on different ways you can use ChatGPT. Next is, before you even get started on a ChatGPT thread, as I like calling them, is make sure that you prime your ChatGPT. Now, what I mean by priming is you prepare ChatGPT before you even start asking questions, before you ask it for requests, is you give it a little bit of background about yourself and the outcome that you want from it. So the way that I do this and the way that I've taught other people is using the WOW method. So the WOW method is W is who you are, what you do, and who you serve. So it's just a good background of yourself. So it's a W. The O is the outcome. What's the eventual outcome that you're asking from ChatGPT? The A is just asking literally just a phrase of, are you ready? And then the H is the how. Which, let's say you want it to be, make it less than 500 words, so on and so forth, make it funny, make it sound professional, whatever it is that you're asking ChatGPT, in what way do you want the output to look like? So for example, in a lot of the videos that I've done, so let's say you're creating a ChatGPT where you're automating the emails, like writing emails. So the WOW method would be, for me at least, I run a virtual assistant agency and I'm also a virtual assistant coach. I need your help in creating the emails for both the clients and for the assistants. Are you ready? I will provide you with sample emails that I've done so you know how to write like me. And then I hit enter on that, and then ChatGPT will say, yep, got it, I understand. And then I will start giving it like, hey, these are example emails of how I write. Do you understand? This is what it is. So from there, it'll be a whole other thread of other tasks and conversations, but priming ChatGPT will give it the background of how to respond to you, how to be more specific to what it is that you're asking. So you're not just kind of blanking out and just letting ChatGPT give you generic answers because you've given it specific input. Next is to make sure, speaking of, to be specific. So the more specific that you are about what it is that you want, the more ChatGPT can give you exactly that. So for example, let's say you're asking it to write 10 tweets for Twitter for a subject that you want. So if you just put ChatGPT, hey, can you create 10 tweets that I can post on my profile? It will give you very generic tweets. But if you say, can you give me 10 tweets about how virtual assistants can use ChatGPT as a superpower, it will then create 10 tweets for me, very specific to the topic I asked for. This is also why, again, you want to prime ChatGPT so it can give you more specific output as you give it specific input. Now, speaking of, the next thing that you really want to make sure that you do with ChatGPT is to give it context. So I've been talking about input and output. So what you put into ChatGPT is your input. And the more that you give it context, the more specific that you are, the more that it can give you the kind of output that you want to ask for later. So let's say I've been using the same, I call it TaskGPT for writing emails over and over again. And I've given it a lot of context. I've given it a lot of examples of how I usually write. Later on, it will just generate content as if I was writing it from scratch, because I've given it enough context, I've given it enough specificity to be able to show me what it is that I need. So when you're introducing yourself, you can go into much deeper detail about who you are, the services they offer, who your target audience is. So then as it gives you that output, it's very specific to who you introduce yourself as. Next is to, as you are now getting to know, okay, these are the tasks I want to create with ChatGPT, this is how I'm going to introduce them, is to go ahead and create separate, what I like to call TaskGPT. So what I mean by this is, for every kind of task that you're doing, you're creating a separate thread. And the reason why you want to do this is so then anytime that this same task pops up, you can just go back to that same thread. You don't have to create another one, or you're not muddying the waters by just using one ChatGPT thread or TaskGPT thread. So for example, when it comes to responding emails to clients, I might have one thread of that, and I have a different thread for responding to emails for our executive assistant in the company. I might also have a separate chat for writing email marketing emails, for example. I could have a separate one for writing promo emails, whatever that would be. That's why I'm saying to create a task GPT, not a project GPT or an output GPT, because you want to focus on that repetitive task that you want ChatGPT to be able to do for you. Next is, I encourage you to find examples of prompts of how people are using it, which brings me to the AI prompt assistant. So this is basically a list of prompts that a lot of our assistants in 2 weeks you have been using. So this is what I mean by looking for examples. So here you can see different tasks that you can already automate using ChatGPT. And a really common one that I like opening is the content side, because that's how I've been using ChatGPT. But you can see here, primary prompt, introducing yourself. So using the WOW method right here, you have the how to create a content for 1 year. So all of this is available on the AI prompt assistant. You guys can check it out on the link below. But this is just one of the examples, and one of the ways that you can use ChatGPT is by checking out how other people have been using it for different examples of prompts that can give you a lot of idea of what can work for you as well. Next is, speaking of then finding examples, make sure that you document your prompts. What I mean by this is, every time that you use a prompt for a task that you're doing, document it and write it down somewhere so you can always go back to it later on. ChatGPT doesn't have a perfect memory. The more sometimes that you use a TaskGPT, it'll forget basically the information you already fed it. So it's always handy to have your WOW method ready and in a database maybe that you have. It's handy to have the background or the examples of emails or content that you've created for it. So anytime that it seems like, hey, ChatGPT isn't creating the same kind of content that I want to create, you can always go back and retrain, essentially, ChatGPT on the things that you've talked about already earlier. Plus, it's also helpful because then anyone else who wants to do that same task, you can just give them the prompt for it, just like how we have the AI prompt assistant. Next way that you can use ChatGPT as a superpower is to create mentors and coaches. Now, this sounds a little bit weird, but I've loved using it. So I have people that I find as mentors, or they're authors, they have books that I really love to read. And what I've done is I've created different ChatGPT threads as them. So I'll ask ChatGPT, again, using the WOW method, introduce myself, and the outcome is, I would like you to act as XYZ. So XYZ could be as my career coach, as my productivity coach, as putting in the author's name, so like Simon Sinek or Brene Brown, because it does have information on those people. It's read the books, it's read the articles by those people, so you can act as them. And then you can ask ChatGPT for specific questions that you would have to pay an actual coach anyway, enable for you to just get a few steps forward on how to do the thing that you're asking it to do. So you can ask, from, if let's say you're a photographer, you can ask for a very high intellectual photography mentor. So you can ask it for, back and forth of tips on how to do this and this better. If you are, for example, a YouTuber like me, I've used it where I've asked advice from really big YouTubers using ChatGPT and given me really good advice. So that's another way that you can use ChatGPT to superpower yourself. And of course, a really good tip that I always give is to experiment a lot. You don't know what the prompt that you use is now the next level thing that will always, now that you've saved it and documented it, you can always keep using for that specific task of yours, or you can teach other people to do. You don't know if a specific prompt that you're using another tool, for example, there's tools like Zapier and other things that can automate basically from ChatGPT to other parts of your life. I won't go into that now, that's a bigger topic, but as you're experimenting and seeing what else ChatGPT can do for you and what AI can do for you in general, it's just going to be magical. And of course, and this is a big thing, but I would love to see it from you guys and put it in the comments if you've done it yourself, is use ChatGPT as a superpower by replacing yourself. Replacing yourself in different areas in your life so you don't have to be the one doing it. Again, creating those TaskGPTs on repetitive tasks, whether that's for work or for your life in general. So you have a go-to place to make things so much easier and more efficient for yourself and for the people that you work with. ChatGPT has already revolutionized this space, this world, and it's something that you can't really deny that's going to keep changing the world as it goes. So I really recommend that you go through all of the other playlists that I have on my channel so you can learn different ways that you can use ChatGPT. Feel free to share it, and of course, if you guys like this video, make sure to hit the thumbs up button right there and comment below what ways are you replacing yourself with ChatGPT. I would love to know. And if you still haven't yet, make sure to hit the subscribe button right there so don't miss any of my videos every Sunday and Thursday on how to work from home and how to have a business from home, which you guys can check out those two playlists right here and the latest video right here. And I hope you guys have an amazing day, and with that, small steps matters, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.